As we all know, every country has a certain set of standards they abide by in everyday life. These standards can range from how their citizens behave in public to how they conduct themselves in the privacy of their own homes. The business environment is no exception to these differences. In the United States of America, business is direct, punctuality is important, and details are thorough. While performing certain business tasks in Spain, one may find sizable differences between the comforts of their own mannerisms and those of their foreign counterparts. Today I will be discussing the aspects of Spanish life that are crucial to know when in Spain on business, including family life, social customs, and different business practices. As far as family values are concerned, we must keep in mind that family life is the cornerstone of any Spanish um, unit. They often gather over meals like we do in America. So, say we've got holiday meals, families will gather, um, discuss, interact with one another. The family includes not only the nuclear family, which is mom, dad, siblings, but they also include the extended family, which is grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, cousins. These gatherings over meals tend to be pretty large and very important in Spain. As far as religion is concerned, there's open religious acceptance within Spain, but 97% of Spanish citizens practice Roman Catholicism. Um, it tends to be very important. Just one thing to emphasize how important it is the church is always the most grandiose building in an entire community. Um, in a large city, they tend to resemble the likes of museums in small towns. They're often the most elaborate buildings within town. Next, we'll talk about social customs, which includes appearance, communication, and business etiquette. As far as appearance goes, a lot like the rest of Europe, Spain tends to be a little more upscale. When they dress, it's formal and conservative. Uh, they value the use of accessories. So, say we're going to a business meeting in Spain, we're going to want to wear a three-piece suit, um, maybe a nice watch, some rings, just to emphasize looking classy. While you want to look classy, you want to avoid looking flashy. So don't wear the bright colors, the exotic patterns, things like this. Avoid that. Shorts are often unacceptable, even in public. They're not necessarily frowned upon, but they don't necessarily look good, and you definitely don't want to wear shorts to a business meeting. Communication, it's a lot like the United States of America in a lot of ways, but it's got a couple key differences. The conversations that are held are direct and to the point. They leave out the filler. There's no um, taking any tangents, anything like that. You get to what you need to say, and then you're done. The conversations are kept on a need to know basis, centered around a network of personal relationships, which makes sense. Say you're in a business meeting, you go in, the only people attending the meeting are going to be the people that need to know the information, and that therefore creates your network of personal relationships. We need to keep in mind that the Spanish value face to face interaction. So while a written message like an email or a fax won't necessarily be voided, it needs to be followed up with a telephone call or a face to face interaction verifying the information that was presented. A lot like the family values, I think that's where this stems, is conversations take place over meals. So a lot of times you might have a business meeting over a meal that just to discuss. Next, we'll talk about etiquette. There's three different subtopics to the etiquette, too. Introductions and dining etiquette. When being introduced in Spain, initially, you're a lot like America. You're going to shake the hand, but you need to keep in mind that it's often a two-handed handshake with your left hand placed on the forearm of the person you're shaking hands with. And once a relationship is established, it's not uncommon for men to embrace in a hug. And when a relationship's established for women, they tend to kiss each other on both cheeks, starting with the left. As far as dining etiquette's concerned, you need to remain standing. Once you've gotten to the meal, you need to remain standing until told to sit. Might be a specified spot. You only begin eating once the first bite is taken by the host. And like the American concept of keeping your elbows off the table, you need to keep your hands visible and wrists on the table at all times. Usually a host will present a toast at the beginning of the meal, and then it is to be followed later on by a toast by the guest of honor at an appropriate time, which is possibly you, and most likely will be. To indicate that you've finished eating, you need to place your fork and knife on your plate parallel to each other. Next, we'll talk about business practices in Spain and what you need to know about actually attending meetings or um, making a transaction. As far as negotiations are concerned, the Spanish value relationships, so present yourself as a trustworthy individual. They tend to take a more relaxed approach when um, discussing business, so you need to present yourself as trustworthy. They value a hierarchy system, so when at a meeting, only negotiate with the people that are of the same level and authority that you are, or you may not get done what you need to get done. This creates efficiency within a meeting because time's not wasted talking to people that don't necessarily matter within a deal. You must be thorough and detailed about all the information you present, and the transaction is usually agreed upon orally and then drawn up in a contract. As far as meetings are concerned, they'll present an agenda at the beginning of the meeting, but it's not necessarily strictly followed. Punctuality is important on your part, but not necessarily theirs. So if they're late, it's no surprise. The first meeting is typically used to get to know one another, and business is often not even discussed. This is just emphasizing that the Spanish value a trusting relationship and like to get to know who they're doing business with before they actually do anything. Be sure everyone at the meeting speaks English and present literature in both English and Spanish. If they don't all speak English, arrangements need to be made for a translator ahead of time. And discussions are the only part of a meeting. Decisions are not made at meetings. They're usually just used to gather information. As far as business cards are concerned, when you walk into your meeting, hand your card to the receptionist. One side of the business card should be printed in Spanish and one side in English. Hand the Spanish side up to the receptionist and she'll file it away for future keeping. That's a basic rundown of what you need to know while conducting business in Spain, just to keep these things in mind. It's a lot in the same as the United States of America, but just a few minor details may make the difference in creating a successful transaction.